was my place. No matter how excited I went through him, an endless intercourse, a deep touch. With each subsequent entry into the now changed place, he became more self-contained, and only slowly but surely became the same. And after I left, every return became more timeless, because a meeting with my absence, which was also the absence of the town. This is how time came about. The price I paid for the purchase of my memory was timeless. I remember the slow fall of the train barriers, my procrastination and more. Slower up of the train. I know my way through all doings and confiscation of the already endlessly available terrain between the different squares. Feel of the former, the medieval route of the round, the walk of the Go, the row of monasteries with their deep gardens along. I called this, the safe secret of my spals. Check how the time did not slow down but disappeared from the room. I now saw, from my place on the vest, rock solid. Next to the powder tower, under the flood of lover, the movements crystallize in front of me in a viewing box, or an ice cube full of frozen figures. My back the stone silence, fortitude. Motionless town, in which the concealed was absent. And I only had to do one thing, in order to remain that absence, to be able to enter his absence, the town had to be mantineed in my head. What no more static but downright, primitive, almost unthinkable state. Ancient, stone for stone, antiquarian street for corner, rounding after bend. This is the legend of the town, its composition, the score, the basic form. I drew towards where I stood and debated my mind. I also have to prepare this place, otherwise it will not come, and I made the place into a town in an unique movement. I stood in the drum of the town, I calibrated the word town for then and always. The violence, the melody, the surrounding, the illusion, abstraction stone, this is the town, I realized wordless, This is my town now, this is his town. Now I didn't get him yet, I saw him years later in a packed new cafe, he had changed but I didn't even know him, he was back for a moment or everything seemed different. Who was with him? Belonged to whom? Had stayed but where? The town renewed, multiplied, and overgrowth was said, awash, so growth. Was also possible. Whoever was with him, had emphatically joined the groove of that growth. So just like who had left, he had not stayed but had risen above the town. He had appropriated the town as an own route now, with a kind of remembered room, that seems justified. Then the word has grown along. He still hesitated, it seemed. He watched me in the uproar, as he watched, to the most intimate level, it was not vulgar but rather revealingly public. Emotionless, it just groped me deeply. With which he showed me and I him and me, there is another town. Not a wilder or more obscene, but an imagined, that is of the void. A vacant, currently to be fulfilled. To access. The fair raged outside. The song is sung by a voice, no a duet of light. Listening to the way it crashes.
Dus een standbeeld van een, ik denk een Nederlandse stadshouder. Misschien Willem I. Maar ja, als je ziet wat hij voor Nederland heeft gedaan, verdient hij een standbeeld. Maar een volkerenmoord kan je ook natuurlijk niet onbeschouwd laten.
Nee, het is niet chic dat je dan, als je, dus ik denk dat het beter is om het standbeeld te laten staan.
Ook al zijn er veel protesten, omdat het dan gewoon beter, dan blijf je consequenter. Dan, anders moet je alles weghalen.
First, settles down in the town, crawls on the road, crawls into the stones, the quays, the canals, the rooms, between the houseplants, valances, curtains, over the page, over the body, into my eyes. But at the same time it has already been caught and reflected by all the surrounding water, sprung up and scattered inland, straight through the stone legend. The stones sparkle or melt or stick. In this double light. In this mixture of glare and shovel light, in this hidden view I stare at the construction of the stones, the story of the alleys, the characters of the buildings, the letters of squares and dikes, the immense word of the water, the shadow of my anecdote. What was the name of the disc? I go after it, a name of unspeakable places. Nieuw Hoorn go from the countryside on the dike and I stand along the southward coast, I pull low through the field, as if I were separating the waters in this way, by train at Chardam, on the top deck, or blowing around the street, the hoot to the gigantic stable, the silhouette of the town, dome and vacant, currently to be fulfilled. To access. The fair raged outside. In the silence of the town he comes, his skirt hit the white hands, he is silent, I listen. I drew towards where I stood and debated my mind, I also have to prepare this place, otherwise it will not come, and I made the place into a town in a unique movement, I stood in the drum of the town, I calibrated the word town for then and always, the violence, the melody, the surrounding, the illusion, abstraction stone, this is the town, I realized wordless, this is my town now, this is his town. Versus towers old, transient in nature, just as the irreproachable are on the retina. Leave it like this. Golden from gold vapor towers, and the air see have the roofs is blue, the air is smooth and cool like pink horns, and their room is red like raspberries. That was my ideal morning, and it went out in the accordion tour, the players' immortal grimaces, right through the weekday, the bakery carts deep into the neighboring hoods, long after the milkman of the dawn, the peeler allowing the ragman, the bleaching silences just in front of the play quarters, howling with the children or the step-by-step school caravans, no traffic for the day other than, passing through, the inter-town buses, or the loaded trucks, away from the harbor, leaving gaping. Only intersected by the cutting of light poles or overheated by the butter motors. When all of the center was deprived of movement, only I, in my school desk, cried quietly for life. A vacant, currently to be fulfilled. To access. The fair raged outside. Construction, I had the impression of a meeting, only intended for I, that is how I finally met myself.